Get ready with me while I tell you about one of the creepiest things that happened to me when I was a kid. And I swear, even after all these years, I still don't know what actually happened that night. I was only around 13 or 14 years old. I was staying at my grandfather's house in our village in Balasore during summer vacation. And that night, I watched an ordinary family evening turn into something I still can't explain, because suddenly one of my buddimas started behaving like a completely different person. And the strangest part, she remembered absolutely nothing the next morning. But before I tell you what happened to her, you need to know why everyone in the house believed that my grandmother had come back. When I was growing up, we used to spend our summer holidays at my grandfather's house in Balasore. It was a big joint family. I had several cousins who were only a few years older than me, so whenever I went there, I had the best time. We would spend the entire day together, talking, playing, eating, and just enjoying the chaos of a big family. My grandparents were still the emotional center of that house, but by the time this incident happened, both of them had already passed away, and there was something particularly sad about my grandmother's story. My father had been only about 1 or 2 months old when she died, so he never really got the chance to grow up with his mother. One afternoon, everything was completely normal. We were having fun. Then evening came, and suddenly one of my Badima began behaving strangely. At first, nobody thought much of it, but slowly her behavior became completely different. She started doing things that she normally didn't do. She started covering her face with a gungat. She started chewing pan and tobacco, and somehow she didn't seem like herself anymore. The adults started noticing it, and then someone said something that completely changed the atmosphere in the house. They believed that my grandmother's spirit had entered her body. According to everyone, she was asking one question again and again: where is my son? She was asking about my father. And that terrified everyone because my grandmother had lost her life when my father was only a tiny baby. So the family believed that maybe she had returned because she wanted to see the son she had never been able to raise. And that afternoon, my father wasn't even at home. He had gone somewhere with one of my brothers. Everyone knew he would return very late, and now the entire family was worried because they believed that whatever had entered my Badima was becoming stronger. I was in the room with her. She was lying on the bed. The son was there too. The room wasn't very big. There was an old wooden door and iron-grilled windows. I remember being confused and scared, but at that age I didn't really understand what was happening. Then some people decided to perform a traditional ritual. They believed that tulsi or tulsi water could make the spirit leave the body. I didn't understand any of it. I was just watching, and then someone put something in her mouth, and suddenly everything changed. She suddenly screamed. She jumped up from the bed and she tried to run. I remember being absolutely terrified. Her son grabbed her, and he had to use all his strength to hold her back, but she was fighting to get out. Then someone closed the door, and that's when she started scratching it hard. Her nails were scraping against the wooden door. She was screaming. Someone inside shouted, "Open the door! She's trying to get out." And then the door opened. The moment the door opened, she ran. She ran unbelievably fast. She went through the back entrance of the house and disappeared into the darkness. She fell once, then got back up and kept running. I was too scared. There were dark areas behind the house, and far away there was a large pile of straw. There were almost no lights there, and she was running straight toward that darkness. Then suddenly, that she had collided with the pile and collapsed. She had completely lost consciousness. People ran to her. They brought her back. They took care of her, and eventually she woke up and she was completely normal. But there was one thing that made everyone even more convinced that something supernatural had happened. She remembered nothing. Nothing about the screaming, nothing about trying to escape. It was as if those hours had simply disappeared from her memory. And this is where the story gets even stranger. My father was still away. He was returning home very late that night with one of my brothers. It was around midnight. The roads were dark. They were traveling by bicycle, and while they were still far away from the house, my father saw something on the road. At first, from a distance, he thought it looked like a funeral procession. You know how during a funeral people walk together while saying, "Ram Nam Satya Hai." That's what he thought he was saying, a group of people coming toward him. But as they got closer, the appearance changed. He thought he could see 3 women wearing white saris. He couldn't see their faces clearly. He couldn't understand who they were, and he couldn't explain why. From far away it had looked completely different. But I was only a teenager when this happened. So what do you think happened that night? Was it something supernatural? Tell me what you believe in the comments.